Every car that rolls into your shop is more than just repair, it's someone's lifeline. Now, what if every repair could also be a lifeline for someone in need? When you join Community Pay It Forward, a portion of each job can help a family, veteran, or nonprofit without costing your customer anything extra. With the Shop, Click, and Pick program, your shop keeps cars running. Let's keep communities running too. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together.
Hey you, yeah you, it's time to rise. Every heartbeat tells a story. A silent rhythm, strong and true. But silence helps one hear the call. Your voice can break down every wall. You're not alone in the fight. We'll stand beside you, shining light. Never shut up, silence helps no one. Raise your voice, lift another until the battle's won. We stand together, stronger than before. Heroes rise when we speak out loud forevermore. Every word's a beacon, shining bright and true, for all the world to see what we can do. Never shut up, speak out loud. We stand together, together.
That's right. Never shut up. You don't know what you're going to say that's going to make a difference in someone else's life. You've got to make sure that your experiences are available for people to hear and for people to utilize. When you tell people what you've been through, they don't feel so alone anymore. I think we all understand what that means because we've all been in that situation where we feel like nobody knows what I'm going through. Nobody knows what this feels like. How come, what am I going to do? I don't know where to go next. There's so many people who have been through situations where that's what they feel. And again, the truth is, that's not the way it is. We've been through things, we've been through everything. We're not inventing new ways to hurt. I'm sorry. It's just, people have been through something similar. And I've said this and I've said this before. Look, nobody knows what you're going through. Nobody can possibly know what you're going through because it's you. They've been through something similar. Okay. I can talk to people about being in a motorcycle accident. I can talk to everybody about what I went through. I cannot tell somebody what they went through. I won't even try. That's not the way this works. I can tell you what I did, what I've went through, what I feel, but I'm not going to try to convince you that I found the magic salve that's going to solve your problems. That's irresponsible of me. What I can do is I can say, hey, I did try this. It does work for me. It gives them an option on what they can try. It gives them a chance to go and talk to a professional and say, look, I was talking to some tchotchke, some Yahoo, and he said, he started telling me about this. Can you tell me a little more about this? Can we investigate? Maybe, what we're doing isn't working, or we can talk to a someone like you just saw, Aviva, and she, you know she's going to actually be on the last hour of this segment, the conversation we had, and she specializes in tapping and doing other things to help people heal that are non-narcotic. Okay, people with true pain, people who hurt, generally are looking for not an escape, they're looking to feel better. If you continue to talk, you could possibly be the reason they were able to feel better, because you give them the ammunition to go to their doctor, to go to their psychiatrist, to go to their, to go to the food kitchen because you've told them where it's at. I was struggling. I needed food. They gave me a food box. Here's the address. Here's where, here's the contact. This is what you've got to do. Not leaving it at the point where it's, yeah, there's food places out there. Just go look. That's not helping. There are so many different things that we can do. There are so many different things that we can try, but we've got to tell our stories. And when we tell our stories, that's when the magic happens. So never shut up, because silence doesn't help anyone. Your story, however, will make a huge difference. Next up on Mission for Healthy Heroes, we're going to have a conversation. I have a monthly show with this gentleman. It's called Rewired for Men. We're going to be starting a men's group in the very, very near future. I believe April is when we were starting this. So please start being watching out for that, because this is it's going to be a group where men aren't just going to participate. We are going to help each other. We're going to say, you know what? I heard what Bill said over there. Can I be put into a breakout room and talk to Bill? Okay. I'm not really comfortable for everyone to hear this. I want to talk to Bill and find out a little more about what he had to say. Maybe he can help us. So, um, you know, Joel and I are going to put this together right now. We're working to put this together, and we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a men's group that, we're going to hold. I think we are starting out with once a month, and until we build up some momentum, and then maybe move it up to twice a month. But we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to keep our over the seas thing going. Joel is in Europe. He's just south of London, I believe he said. I think he even says it in this, but he's a really, really good friend, except for right now, because right now he is in Egypt. Damn it. I so badly want to go to Egypt. I just think, I don't like the desert. I don't like the desert, but I love Egypt. I just want to go there because of the history. I would be a happy, happy fat man if I were able to go to Egypt. But one of the things that we talk about, we're really going to kind of keep the message of the last segment going, because we're going to be talking about men and fatherhood, and men and men growing as parents, and how being a better parent can help us be a better human. And we talk a little bit about how, I caught myself saying something to my kid that I was like, are you dumb? And that's a lesson that we need to take and we need to learn and we need to deal with it a lot better, because if we're beating ourselves up, our kids are watching. So this is our segment on Mission for Healthy Heroes with Mr. Joel White. This is an episode of Rewired for Men. It was recorded about 2 weeks ago. So enjoy this. By the way, you'll see a PayPal QR code in the corner. That is one way that, or that's the way that you can donate to help us get the uh, the Come Together Compass and get it built and launched. You can find out all about the Come Together Compass if you go to that QR code that's right above me, the red one that goes to our event page. That'll show you more. You can read all the details about the compass. So please go there. Enjoy this episode of Rewired for Men, and I will be back shortly. I will still be here. If you have any questions, please utilize the chat, and I'll answer the question for you. So, but yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for most of the 22 hours. Thankfully, Things Network is stepping up and taking over some of the responsibility this year, because they were like going, "You're nuts." And I was like, "Yes, I am. And thank you for noticing." But I appreciate what Things Network is doing. So here we go with Rewired for Men. Um, and I'll see you in a little bit. If only y'all could be a fly on the wall. Some of our conversations pre-show are, we sat there and we just had like a 25-minute conversation, something like that, and we realized, man, we should be recording this because this is great. Other than the vulgarity, which is something that we don't mind letting a word or two slip, but we're a little more vulgar on those on that. But I mean, it was we're definitely going to have to do a show on what we just talked about. I really think that parenting, and what we've learned from parenting, I think that would be one hell of a show, really. So, hey, everybody, my name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'm here with my brother, my friend, and my partner, Joel. The problem, I think that my like upper lip might be glued to my teeth. That might be part of the problem. So, hey, all, before we get going, we need to let you know we are in dire need of your help right now. The Mission for Healthy Heroes is coming up in a week and a half. Okay, it is just days away, and I have had a problem, and I would alter my camera, but then I'd never get it sat right. And you all would have to look at me doing this all show, trying to get back into the camera. So I'm not going to do that. But sitting right here on my desk is my computer. It decided it didn't want to play with me no more. So it went out. And this right here, as we're set up, this is perfect because we're recording this. But when I try to stream, it's not strong. It's not a strong stream. We need your help. If you could support us, if you can sponsor us, if you can participate in the Mission for Healthy Heroes coming up on Sunday the 22nd, there's a QR code right above Joel's head. Please scan that and be part of this. We desperately need your help to get this computer fixed, because this one that I got right here, I mean, I hope it doesn't hear me, but it's kind of old. And we know about old things, and we don't work as well as we used to. So we could really, really, really use your help. Please, as we say, as it says below in this little string here, You can make a difference right now. Your voice, your experience, and your story can help people, and we need your help to make this happen. So, but now on with the show, Rewired for Men. I got it right that time. I bring in Mr. Joel White. How you doing, brother?
I'm all right, sir. I'm all right, sir. Like you were saying, we have great conversation about 25, 30 minutes, and we look at each other and go, if only we would have recorded it somewhere back
Yeah, yeah.
from that degree. Yeah,
Well, but that is one of the great things about what we do. Guess what? We have control on what we're going to do with the shows next time.
absolutely.
So you have a very unique trip coming up. Tell us about it.
Oh, good memory there. You see, I didn't talk about that previously. Yeah, I'm off on Friday the 13th, depending on what your belief says, going to Egypt. Really excited, never been, always wanted to go. But it's also quite an interesting dynamic, and there's one thing we talked about before. It's me, my son, and my ex-wife. And somebody, what ex-wife? And it's like, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a amicable, if not, oh, I won't say that again, but a very good relationship with my ex-wife, and regardless of what's happened between us, the important thing is that most of the time, majority of the time, we land on the same page. And what we land on the same page is about is for Aiden, and he's now 9 years old. I think it was when he was 7 or 8. He said, Daddy, there's one thing I really love about you, and that's about creating memories, creating happy memories. And that's very wise for a kid at 6 years, 7 years old, 8 years old to say something like that, but it really put it in perspective, the importance of it. There's that thing which always stuck with me, and I'm realizing it now more so. But I remember somebody saying to me, whatever goes on between you and your partner, or your wife, or your ex-wife, it's not about you. It's not about them. It's about your kids.
Yeah.
Kids don't stay kids for long. They grow up really quickly. I didn't really appreciate the grow up really quickly part until obviously Aiden's come along, and blink of an eye, he's 6, and a blink of another eye, he's 8, and now he's 9. He was 9 2 weeks ago. It's just surreal. It really is surreal.
Yeah, brother, unfortunately it doesn't stop. You turn around and all of a sudden they're 33, 34, and you're like,
Mm.
"Oh, stop." I'm not old enough to have a kid as old as you are, so stop that. You know, you start getting those thoughts, but I know I am so extremely jealous of you. If I had a bucket list, Egypt is that bucket list.
Really?
I love Egyptian history. I would love to go to Rome, to Greece. I'd love to go on just a tour that had nothing to do with anything but history, and just go to all of these places, the Parthenon, the Colosseum, the Valley of the Kings, to the pyramids, of course, the Sphinx. I would love to just go on a tour with one of these days. That's what I keep telling people is I'm hoping that one of these days, because of community pay it forward, I'm able to take my grandkids, I'm able to take my kids all on this trip. We all go together, and if we're taking that trip, imagine, Joel, how many people we've helped. If
Yeah.
we have, if we get to go on this trip. And oh God, when you told me you were going to Egypt, I wanted to hate you, but I love you too much. So I was like going, you rat, damn, damn. But I love the fact that you're going with your ex-wife. I think that's so powerful that you guys, look, you guys have this unique relationship to where you do this. I know that ex-wives are hard. I know they're difficult. I know. I've got two
That's what
of
she
them.
is at times, and
Yeah.
sometimes I am. So
Oh yeah. But I mean, to be able to put, and it's hard to put your own feelings aside. You literally can't do that. You can't put your own feelings aside, but you've got to make the care for your child mean more than your own feelings. And that's what you and your former wife are able to do. You're able to put the caring, the love, and the support for your son. You're able to put his needs above your feelings.
Absolutely. And again, it's quite interesting, this conversation as well. It's society, society only seems to have a negative connotation for when you split from your wife, and that's ex-wife. What does that actually? What does it mean? What does ex-wife mean? Does it mean she's obsolete and you put her in a box and send her back to Walmart for destruction? It's such an awful term. It's like, and what is the alternative term? It doesn't really seem to be one. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, I know.
no. It's just a food for thought.
Yeah,
That's all.
well, I made the mistake once of introducing someone to my first wife, and I introduced her as my ex-wife, and she goes, "I don't like that. Please do not do that again." And I was like, "But this is," and she goes, "I'm not dead. I'm still here." And
Yeah,
I really took that to heart. And I also feel the way, Joel, when someone passes away. I don't pronounce them as they were. No, because in my mind, in my heart, they're still here. My
yes,
Uncle Barry passed away a week ago tomorrow. Okay. He is. He
yeah,
is still my Uncle Barry. He is still a United States veteran. He is the man that I love. Not was, because he
yeah,
is always going to be part of me. And
yeah,
that's another one of those things. I just don't see it as they were. They were a part of my life. So they're not now? Out of sight, out of mind? What the hell kind of vision is that? No, they are. They
yeah,
are. So
yeah. Absolutely. And it's because my brain is like, how do I speak about it? Because I don't like the word. To be honest, I don't know how she introduces me or speaks about me. I ain't got. I hope it's not got lots of vulgarity in it. But anyway, and I don't know. Maybe this is a question to ask her. When you speak to people about me, how do you introduce me? No, I'd be curious. Um, but it's like my brain tries the which also is a bit clumsy as well. Yeah, this is my son's mum or the mother of my son. It's like that doesn't seem quite quite right either. You know what I mean? I'm like, I
yeah,
don't
that
know.
almost kind of sounds like baby mama. It really makes it to where this person's not important in my history. And that's
Yeah,
not, it's not true.
no, absolutely not. But like I said, yeah, I really appreciate your input on that. I guess if anything, tune in for next month's show and you'll find out how it went, won't you?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. We'll find out if you've become a mummy and things went well, or if you've made it back and things went really well. So, and I do wish you guys safe travels. My mind will be with you, because I know that Egypt is at times a fairly volatile place. But then again,
yes.
I'm talking from America right now, and
Sorry, sorry.
so, hey, Joel, we just had something happen here in the States, that commercials are, of course, all the rage around this football game. Of course, this year it was topped by the halftime show ridiculousness. But you know what? The truth is, I didn't watch a single down. I didn't watch any of it, not because I'm protesting anything. It's just I don't care. It's not hockey. That does bug me, though, that our hockey is called off for 3 weeks while our players are over in Italy. But commercials are something that are they trying to make men feel like shit about themselves?
You want me to answer that question, or is that rhetorical?
No, I'm really you've seen some things, and you were bringing some stuff up, and then I brought it up to you that like every at least third commercial here in the states is aimed at men and ED, and it's like, is it really that big of a problem? I think right now there's less about ED and more about men aren't ready to make the commitment of fatherhood, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but boy, you watch TV, and there's a comedian. I wish I could give him credit, but I can't remember who it was. But I believe it was a British comedian who came out and said, when you watch American TV, you can tell three things: Americans like their booze and have erectile dysfunction. And boy, that's true right now. You watch commercials of for anything, and every time and now that betting has become legal, oh my god, those are the three commercials: alcohol, betting, and erectile dysfunction commercials.
It's quite interesting that it's over here. There seems to be. It's weird. It's kind of shifted a little bit. So we're getting more of aimed at men. I guess women as well, but more at men. These different ways of investing in the stock market. There's these different types of investment apps and blah 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 and da da da. And then there's the one what you talked about, the good old gambling. Do you know what I mean? Gambling with. And then in a small print at the bottom it says, "Be aware, gamble safe." Or it goes on, we give you this perfect lifestyle of
Oh
gambling. And
yeah, yeah,
the last second is, "Be aware, look after yourself," and it disappears.
yep.
We've done our bit, people. We've shown them mistakes. Have to go tick. So, so
Yeah, you
there's
you can
that.
win millions, you can win billions, you can win. And then right there at the end, winning is not guaranteed. This can really screw up your life forever. If you have a problem, call these numbers. And of course, they do it in a sped up voice so you can't understand what they're saying. It's kind of like a prescription when they're trying to talk about a prescription. This prescription is good for headaches, but it can cause, and it lists the things that it could cause. And you're like going, good God, I think I'll deal with the headaches.
Absolutely. But again, it's quite all this is really relevant to us because what we're seeing more in society is we're seeing more men or compared to what we were in the past being more concerned about their appearance. There's been even more push on appearance of men and how they look. It's particularly what we find particularly in the UK, there's this push now even more towards men who are 40 to 45 years upwards to look a certain way. What I'm realizing, I'm coming into 45, that the kind of six pack that was there has now become a bit six pack of beer. It started shifting definition. And it's like, oh, where did that come from? And it's like, okay. And I found myself thinking about it. But I did that major mistake you should never do, which is you get one commercial like on Facebook, you stream and just have a look just out of interest, and then next day every post you see this weight loss, bill loss, machines to buy, military workouts. And it's just like, and this is what we talked about before. You usually see, this guy has got this big belly, and then overnight it's got a six pack, and it's like miracle. And you were saying, well, which has been doing around in the UK, the Tai Chi one. You got
Yep.
this man with a big six pack. I do Tai Chi I do Tai Chi everything. By the way, we're not taking the mick out of people who do Tai Chi. It's just the unrealistic nature in how things are being sold as the cure, the cure for your six pack. So,
You
of
know,
beer.
and I'm not naive enough to say that that's what a commercial is supposed to do. A commercial is supposed to give you this is what could happen. And
Yeah.
we, as a commercial, we want people to see what their end result could be. But I mean, let's be honest here. In just 5 short weeks, I became from this slovenly, you know, 600-pound clump of pudding to now I can lift a bus with my, yeah, like you said, my six-pack abs and long flowing hair and dateable face. No, you didn't. No, no, you didn't. Yeah, not without a lot of surgery and AI. Okay, let's just leave it at that. But you're right. Hey, look, if you want to come at it and say, hey, you know what, you should try Tai Chi. It's going to make you feel better. You can't. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, absolutely.
Bravo. By the way, my six pack quickly became a keg. So you know, I I went from a six pack to a keg. So possibly a beer barrel.
Oh, love it. I just love it. Fantastic.
So,
Fantastic.
but yeah, I think those and we've talked about it. How men need to be ready that to really be careful with your expectations
Yeah.
and be guarded with your expectations. You know what? There's nothing wrong with having dreams. There's nothing wrong with setting goals. Everyone should set goals, as a matter of fact. But don't let a commercial set your goals,
Yeah.
and don't let someone else's results affect you and affect your happiness. There's a lot of
Mhm.
stuff that goes on in your life that are going to affect everything you do. You can't lose weight just by losing weight. There's got to be everything in life that has to line up towards I'm losing weight. I'm losing weight the right way. I mean, hell, you can stop eating altogether and you can lose weight, right?
Yeah, but
You
let's not
can,
do that.
yeah, yeah. But it's
But I
to
get you.
help.
I get you.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. You've got to prepare yourself in more ways than one. Than take this magic pill and everything's going to change. And but they don't explain this. They just want you to think this. Buy my program in 5 weeks. You're going to be an Adonis. Well, maybe one of the wrestlers in the 60s, Adonis, the big old fat belly guys, possibly one of them guys, but I mean, we need to care for ourselves before we fall for something like that.
It's something quite interesting what you've picked up on there, and this is a bit of a data secret about me. I find over my life that I go through phases of watching WWE, the wrestling.
Yeah.
I know, and a lot of people would say on one hand it's fake. It's fake from the perspective of the storylines and that they rehearse the moves and obviously the outcome of the match. But the physical activity within that is real. They do hours and hours and hours of training, and by God, do they get injured? Some of the injuries are real. That's not fake. I don't know about you, but I certainly be able to get into a ring and do some of the stuff they do. Not unless I want to break my back, break my neck. Yeah,
Yeah.
that bit's real, and you can't take that away from it. And for me, it is chewing for the eyes. And I found myself going through a period of time of watching it. But what's quite interesting in what we're speaking about here is that if you look at some of the wrestlers that are in WWE, yeah, you do get the ones with the six packs and blah blah and this that. There's quite a contingent of them which do have the so-called beer belly or a lot older or whatever, and they still get just as favoured as perhaps your six pack big boys as well. So again, it's quite interesting how that's changed, because if anybody knows anything about the wrestling, during the 80s and the 90s, they were all chiseled, but by God, were they tanking steroids
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And be honest, unfortunately, a lot of them are dead from steroid use addiction, or that they are just have really serious mental and or physical health problems from that degree. So again, it goes back to what we've been talking about. This idea of the magic pill seems to do the rounds from that perspective. Again, we were talking about this in the break. It's I'll be 45 this year, and it's like, my the way I look at things is changing because obviously physically I'm changing. I think when you get to the age of 40, where we like, we start to rapidly die off, and things fall out
Right.
in places didn't fall out in before. So again, it's been really interesting reflecting on that, and what's coming up for me around that. And I'll be honest, I have tried the pills. All I found is that I went to the toilet more often, and that's really all it did from that degree. So again, I've tried a couple of fitness programs, but the stuff I'm trying, I'm not spending like £600 on it, and discounted down from £1,800 discount. I'm not doing any of that. But again, what I'm finding is what you said. Yeah, it does make me feel better, but physically, do I look like the guy on the advert with a shriveled six pack and army muscles? Well, no, I don't. And it goes back to what you're saying. It's what are your expectations? And I think if you are clearer with your expectations, being realistic enough, that yeah, go out and try the pills. Go out and do the Tai Chi or like an army program or whatever it is, and go and get the machines that you put on your abs. But be realistic with what you expect to get out of them. If you think you're going to put that on and get a six pack and look like Arnie, or you're going to take those pills and look like Dolph Lundgren or whatever it is, the chances are you're going to be sadly disappointed. It's not going to go that way. But the bit what you said, which is really important as well, that you know you got to make more than just one change.
Yeah.
If you're stonking down McDonald's three times a day, every day of the week, and then expect to take weight loss pills or stick this machine on a Tai Chi Arnie program, it ain't gonna happen. It's just not gonna be the case. And whether we like it or not, things do take effort. And I think we've touched on this before. We find ourselves very much in a materialistic society of want it now. I want it now. I don't want to
Mhm.
work for it. I want it now. And I want to consume it now. And if it doesn't work, then I can just throw it away and move on to the next thing. And it's really gone awry because when I was growing up, it didn't used to be like that. So I don't understand what has led to. I guess social media has been a big part of it. But just that massive shift in society. I think maybe it's just a more Western thing. I don't know.
I wonder, with you saying that, the one thing that we always try to tell ourselves is I'm too busy for this. Joel,
Yeah,
when has there been a time when people were not busy? You
yeah,
know, there's always been people out there who had to take care of their family. Yeah, yeah, you know what? It used to be in the 50s and 60s. Yes, dad's dad's income could take care of an entire family. Things were a lot cheaper back then.
yeah,
Yeah, that made it to where mom had a little more time. She could be the homemaker and do stuff like this. Yes, I get it. There used to be differences. But truthfully, they could work their asses off too and never see their kids. They've decided that that's not what they were going to do. Not all of them, of course, but that's not what they were doing. They were going to spend the time with their kids. I think we just need to do what every professional coach has ever told us, and we need to plan it out. We've got to make
yeah,
sure that, we plan time out. And instead, we're using our busy schedules as a crutch, kind of like, my bad day used to be a crutch for alcoholism.
Yeah.
My, my uh my pains that I go through are a crutch for my prescription addiction. You know, we've got to be honest with ourselves, stop with this and stop making everything instantaneous. Because
Yeah.
if you're not working on it, there's nothing going to happen if you don't work on it. The only thing I can think of that's going to work, regardless on if you're working on it or not, is death. Because it doesn't matter if you're working on it or not, it's going to happen someday. But that's about the only thing that we can count on that is going to happen regardless if we work on it or not.
Absolutely, but again, it's quite interesting what you raised there, and I delivered a wellbeing workshop prior to coming on air with yourself, and it was on stress and relaxation. And one of the points which I pull out of what I do is what you touched on is time. A lot of time when you speak to people about the importance of looking after yourself and having downtime and you're pampering yourself for even 5 minutes, what you usually get back is, I don't have time. I'm busy. But the irony of it is, if it really matters, you would make time, and everybody's got the same amount of time. What matters is how you choose to value that and how you use it. That's the massive difference in that from that degree. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's about how do you plan your time out. So when I plan out my weeks in advance, I and by putting them in my diary, I've got a greater chance that I'll actually follow through and do them as well. So I've got in there that every 2 weeks on a Monday night I go and play football. On a Tuesday night I go and do yoga. I go into a meditation class on a Tuesday night. I go swimming once a week. These things are in my diary for that degree. When I've got my son, that is blocked out in my diary. Clearly, just saying to myself, when I have my son, I don't work. I don't do the work. I'm with him. He's got my
Hmm.
attention. That's a way of, pardon me, managing your time, from that degree. And again, it's something what I've had to work a lot on is particularly around taking breaks. On the one hand, it's great being self-employed, but one minute you look at the clock, it's 10 a.m. Next minute you look at it, it's like 4 p.m. It's like shit. I ain't eaten. I ain't had
Yeah.
any food.
Yeah.
And again, it's really important in trying to manage that time more effectively from that degree. And again, you touched on something there. A lot of time people are like, I'm busy, and it's like when you actually look at what they're doing, is it actually productive in what you're doing with your time? I think sometimes people are busy doing nothing or looking busy for busy's sake. Because a lot of people, what you touched upon, they would rather remain busy than have to sit down and reflect on decisions that they're making or what things are going on for them, or God forbid, sitting there emotions to feel what's going up for them at the moment in time from that perspective. A lot of the time as well, which is quite interesting, people remain busy because they're frightened to death of spending time with themselves. They just don't know what to do. You know what I mean? It's an alien concept to that. And usually people associate spending time with yourself means that I'm a loner. And it's like, no, it's important to spend time with yourself. If you're spending your time with yourself all week and you don't see anybody else, yeah, that's a different story. That is loneliness is a silent killer. That's what it will do. But if you're not spending at least part of each day time with yourself, i.e., no TV or anything like that, just chilling, whatever that looks like, then something's out of whack in regards to your whole life and what that looks like from that degree. Because whether we like it or not, there's one person we can never get away from. That's us. That's ourselves. Believe me, I've tried.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, I've mentioned many a time how during my previous marriage how I would work 70 hours a week, and then I would the weekend would come and I'd go out and I'd jump on the bike and I was out all weekend. And whenever I would get into an argument, it would all be around, you know, uh, well, when the hell do I have time to do this? Well, I was running away from that time. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I was doing. I was running away from time because I volunteered to put in that many hours of work.
yeah,
Okay? Look, I could have dropped down 5 hours and the paycheck wouldn't have been all that much difference, and I could have been home for 6 to 8 hours more, and I could have spent time with the family, and maybe things would have been different. But I was running from time because I had it in my head that if I'm not home, I'm not arguing.
yeah,
That is piss poor, because I should have known that something needed to be changed. Because if you can't be home and you're in that bad of a situation, there could have been other things done rather than neglecting my son at the time, or sons, you know, and neglecting myself,
yeah.
because I was putting myself through hell. Because uh, I was in a truck all day and then I was on my bike. So, Joel, there was no getting away from myself. I was with myself the time, all the time. And, so, where I could have done so much better, instead of telling people, well, I don't have any time. I just don't have any time. No, I was running from free time. I was running away from structure. I was running away from everything, because I had it in my head that if I had that free time, things were going to go to crap.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And again, that really comes into an interesting point as well. And that if you're finding yourself in a relationship, whether that's friends, family, work, whatever it is, and you are making yourself busy, then something is out of whack. Do you know what I mean? And particularly,
Mhm.
what you touched on, the home environment. A lot of people had created a work routine similar to yourself where they were too busy to spend time at home with their family or their wife or whatever it is. When in reality, things weren't great at home, but they were under the delusion. Men are very good at delusions. They were under the delusion of the importance of, I have to keep busy to bring food in for the family and to pay the bills, which I get. But again, you've touched on something there. How much difference would it have been to in that that workload? What you said, to drop 5 or 6 hours, it would have had a massive impact on the paycheck, but you would have been more time at home. If anything, it's that elephant in the room that perhaps the relationship you're in is not a healthy one for you or the other person. And if anything, what I would say is that if you get home at night, wherever you live, and you come into your home and you lock the door, and when you've locked the door into your home and you don't feel safe, warm, and secure, you've got a major problem. You really have. And you might live in a mansion. There are probably people out there listening who are very affluent and well off. But I'm sure some of those individuals are coming home to their mansion or their 8-bedroom house and they're locking the door and they don't want to be there. There's serious issues, there's serious things that need to be addressed, because you're not helping yourself, you're not helping your partner, and the kids involved, you certainly aren't helping them in that scenario as well. So again, it's really important just to reflect on things. And some people they say they stay in relationships for the kids, when really, no, what it is, they haven't got a backbone to actually take responsibility and accountability for their own actions and their own lives. And you know, divorce is tough. Separation is tough, and it can get quite destructive and quite messy. But believe me, staying in a relationship for the sake of the children is the worst thing in the world you can ever do. If you want to destroy your kids for life, stay together because
Yeah.
that's what you'll do.
Look, just think of it this way, all right? Take 5 seconds the next time that you say, well, I'm staying in this relationship for my kids. Okay, just take 5 seconds and think about it. Do I want my kids to think this is normal? Take 5 seconds. Do I want my kids to grow up thinking this is normal? Your kids might be smart enough to realize, wow, this is a mess. This is a shit show. Thank God, free and justice were both smart enough to realize, okay, my dad's a moron. This is not normal. This is not what I want. Thank God my kids grew up knowing that. But think to yourself, because your kids learn from you. Your kids get the mannerisms. Your kids get when I get upset, you can see my teeth grinding in my cheeks. All right. I get that from my father. And I didn't know that until one time when I guess my mom said something that made me mad and I started doing that. And she goes, "Oh, God, you do that same thing your father does." And I was like, going, "Oh, okay." I didn't even know I was doing it. So, but think to yourself, think for 5 seconds. Is this what I want to teach my kids? That this is normal? Because the answer is going to be no. It's got to be no. If you're unhappy, you want to teach your kids it's okay to be unhappy. It's okay not to live your life to the fullest.
Mhm. Absolutely. But there's something really interesting in that, which is really important to bring out a bit more is, when we're all children, particularly, this is more a boy thing than it is a girl per se thing. You know, we learn more through observing other people's than actually being told by them. And it's very powerful, what is it? Don't do as I say, but do as I do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what speaks more. So if you're saying one thing and doing another in your behavior, your, your child will pay more attention to your actions than they do the words that come out of your mouth. It's an absolute fact, and it's really important to take that on board. This thing that I learn every single day is a massive learning lesson with my son. And I know, this came up in conversation based on events over the weekend that, of course, I'm going to get a 9-year-old response back, but it can still surprise me. I'm going, what do you think of daddy? What would you like daddy to do? What do you want daddy to do things differently? and it does come out with a lot of positive things about what I do with him, this, that, and the other. But but there's one thing what he said to me, and he's absolutely right. He's 9 years old, but it's spot on. That we were driving somewhere. I think we're going on holiday somewhere, going out for a trip, and I was tired, and there was a lot going on the motorway junction. He was asking me questions, and I was answering his questions, and I missed my junction. And we ended up coming into a traffic jam that if I would have caught my junction, would have missed it out. And I got angry, and I swore, and then I blamed him, and then he got upset. And it was after that going, what a dumb dad thing to do. Of course, it's not my son's fault. He's 8 years, he's 8 years old. I'm the adult. I'm the one driving the car. I'm the one who missed the junction. How on God's green earth can I make him responsible
Oh
for
my
me
God.
missing
I
the
have lived
junction?
that life
It
so
was
many
like,
times.
what have I done? And it was an educational opportunity, which I find, I'm learning all the time to go, Daddy's wrong. You are not responsible for Daddy's behavior. You are not responsible for Daddy's feeling. and again, this camping conversation, we just discussed it, because I'm also wanting to understand as well. And I said to him, look, I'm teaching you these things at 9 year olds. You're not going to remember it all, but I really hope you learn these lessons sooner than what I did. 'Cause it took me 30 or 40 years to realize that people are not responsible for my behavior, my emotions, my choices. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not responsible for theirs. So I really want you to learn this stuff, son, as best you can, because life will be a whole lot easier for you if you learn these things now. Because Daddy never had that when he was your age. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh,
So
I remember at one point in time going off on my son because he was playing around with my cousin, and my cousin picked him up and dropped him in a pool, and my son just went nuts, and I didn't understand what the hell was going on, and he had an iPhone in his pocket, and I knew nothing about phones, nothing about them. Okay. Obviously, this is, I knew that they were there to make phone calls, and that was about it. I didn't even know what an iPhone was at this point in time. I know they were expensive and they were all over TV. Um, but and he had an upset reaction to it, and then of course I made things worse because I'm like going, what the f is wrong with you? It's a damn phone for, you know I went off. I'm like, this is a stupid reaction to a phone. What are you doing? And I didn't realize at that point in time that, you know this was something that, first off, it was his.
yeah,
you know I should have said, there are so many different things I could have said. I could have said, you should have known, you really need to make sure that when you're doing something, you're taking uh, you know all possibilities on. So
yeah,
take that thing out of your pocket, because where you may not be put into a pool, you very well could fall on your butt and it could get broken that way.
yeah,
I could have done so many different things, but instead, I had to feel like a complete and total heel when I went back to him to apologize and say, well, your dad's a complete jerk because I overreacted to your reaction. And yes, his was an overreaction, but it was still, he's a child. He's okay to overreact. I'm an adult, and that makes my overreaction just idiotic. So yeah. But yeah, oh god, I oh, traffic with kids, and then blaming somebody else for your mistake of missing a turn. Yeah, those are always good things to happen.
absolutely not on that basis. But again, there's something in that as well, that because again, it takes, despite being adults, and you touched on there, it takes courage to humble yourself to realize that you've been an absolute jerk off to, to apologize to your kids, and that's a vital lesson. You're teaching your kids that you're gonna make poor choices, and you need to take responsibility for your actions. I think there's a lot of people out there who, in your case, you went and explained and apologized, and in my case, I did. But the best a lot of individuals out there who wouldn't have done that they would have just carried on blaming that person, blaming their kid. And lo and behold, guess what happens? Your children grow up blaming other people
Yeah.
for their behavior and their feelings and their choices. It's always somebody else's fault and blah, blah, blah. And blah, blah. It's never your fault. So, again, so there's actual real learning in that as well, to and yeah, some people would go, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. He's 9 years old. He's just a kid." Yeah, but he won't. He won't be a. One day he won't be a kid any longer. He'll be an adult. It starts now. And again, I can't remember comedian names, but there's a comedian, and he's been recently doing a circuit in England doing live performances, and he is very, very good. And he's very, very humorous. but he also drops in absolute words of wisdom, sublime. And a lot of how he does these shows as well, he will tell a bit of standard material, but then he'll take questions from the audience, or he'll get them to send in text messages, and he projects them on the screen. If anybody knows anything about comedy, it's bloody hard work to ad lib stuff like that. You do not know what's going to come up
Yeah.
at all. You really don't, and this clearly shows the level of intelligence and the ability of the individual. But some of the questions people ask him are some things we talk about here just absolute live questions, and he answers them in a very serious wisdom way. And he I can't remember exactly how it went, but he was like, when it comes to kids, be tough, tough love, put boundaries in place. Because if you don't do it now, by God, you're gonna have a challenge when they're older. You really are. He didn't quite say that, but that was a general point of what he's getting to. It's yes, it's important to love your kids and look after them, but they need boundaries. They need lessons to learn, because you will really cause some problems when they're older from that degree, without a
As
doubt.
yeah, as a parent, I think one of the things that always scared the hell out of me the most, Joel, was my kids growing up and making a poor choice and coming up to me and go, "Dad, this is the way you taught me to do it." You know, and that always scared the hell out of me. That truly did. I always feared that day that it was going to happen. And so, yeah, I and especially back in my drinking days, I used the, uh, listen to the words, don't be what I am, that the the saying that you said earlier, and I can't believe I'm blanking on that. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
You know, I used to tell my kids, look, you want to grow up and be happy? Look at what I'm doing and do everything different. You know, I would tell them that. And it's, now that I'm older, you look at that statement and you're like going, Jesus, how dumb were you? I mean, seriously, how dumb were you? You could tell that things had to change, yet you were just sitting there going, well, I know I need to change things, but there's beer. I mean, come on. And I self-realization is something that I'm glad is in my life now. I don't um where I am very, very proud of my sons. They did grow up to be outstanding young men. And by the way, Joel, I don't know if I apparently haven't told you this, but my oldest son, he is a professional wrestler in Japan.
Awesome.
He is actually a belt holder in Japan. So, yeah, but yeah, that's, and I know I've seen him. Yeah, he's also a kindergarten teacher. Okay, so during the Halloween season one year, he had a wonderful costume because he got to just dress up like the wrestler and go in with the black eyes and the bruises and everything. He said, "Dad, I didn't have to get dressed up for any except for I put on my wrestling gear." And I walked into class and they thought it was all a joke. They thought the black eye was fake, and you know, and he goes, "It was all real." I was like, but yeah, and I truthfully, I think that a lot of times, when people see that wrestling, they don't take into consideration the fitness of those young men and women. They
Yeah.
work their asses off. I mean, they are more skilled at what they do because one missed spot, and that's what they're called. Each movement is a spot. One missed spot can lead to and has led to death of the person you're in the ring with.
Yeah.
I know that there's wrestlers like the great Khali, who went to go and make a move with somebody who was much smaller than he was,
We killed
and
him.
yeah, he killed him. And that's yes, it is very, very fake, but they are finely tuned athletes. They
Yeah,
are finely tuned athletes, and they are a hell of a lot of times better than most of the actors you see on TV, you know,
yeah.
and they have to do both at once. So, I mean, I always called it the male soap opera. You know, it's, what are you doing tonight? Well, the male soap opera's on, so I'm going to go and watch that. But yeah, I'm the one that got free into loving wrestling, and so yeah, but he's over in Japan, and he's a wrestler over there. So
That's awesome. But again, we were talking about this, when we were off show. It's one of the things you showed me a lovely photograph you had recently with your grandchildren. There's you in it, and obviously your wife and your dog. And it's like, for me, where I am, that I would hope to still be alive, A, and B, if my son chooses to have children, to be part of their life. Do you know what I mean? It's like my mum's very much a part of my son's life. Do you know what I mean? And it's really powerful, that relationship they have together. My we were this one of the things we were talking about. My mum brings so much knowledge and wisdom than I could ever dream of. For a start, she's learned a lot more about the good, the bad, and the ugly than I ever have, being another
yeah,
40-year old than me. And she comes from a generation where a lot of that has disappeared. Do you know what I mean? A lot of those values and that those traditions. And again, I was speaking to somebody else about this yesterday, that we will get to a period of time in our life where we will only just be able to read about the Second World War, or watch films about it, because there'll be no one left alive.
hmm,
There'll be nobody left alive to share those experiences of how not to do repeat patterns on things. Unfortunately, we haven't seemed to have learned that as a civilization from those mistakes yet. But yeah, so very much so. It's great. I mean, mum having that relationship with my son, and that feeding into that idea of family, and from that degree, and it's something again that crosses my mind. That if I can do the best I can now with my son, that one day he will be an adult and he will be a dad. That I hope he will have a better idea about what to do with his children from that degree, and hopefully I might be able to be part of that as well from that perspective. So it's really fascinating. And again, what you said, blink of an eye, he turned 9 last week. Sorry, I don't even know what date we're on now. 2 weeks ago, he turned 9 two weeks ago. And it's like another blink of an eye, like you were saying, the 32, the 34. It's like, it's just surreal. And even now, I'm looking at my son going, feeling almost like a bit of sense of loss, almost preparing myself that it will. 1 minute he won't be here anymore. And God forbid he might not actually want dad around, because dad's not cool with his mates, or dad's not there going out with lads when he's 21. So I've got nothing against that, by the way. If you do go out with your children and they're 21 and you go out for a pint, that's brilliant, and I hope that I will be able to do that, but not to be biased by his side all the time. But I
yeah,
would hope, like you said, that if he's older and he's dealing with a problem, or he gets in a difficulty, that he feels he can pick up the phone and call me. That I won't rip his head off. That I won't shout at him, because believe me, probably a lot of the things he will find himself in, I've been involved in. They've not done worse. So I can't,
yeah.
I can't, I can't really judge him.
And then really a couple things that we need to remember when that happens with our kids. The first thing is you got to remember the way that you were. Okay, mom and dad said, do not do this, do not be that person, don't do it, that's just wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. No, stop that, because we know that that pushes them to want to do it more.
Yeah.
Don't tell a kid, don't touch the stove. Take the kid, show him the stove, and say, look, I wouldn't touch this stove because I know my skin and I know it's going to burn my skin if I touch this stove. Okay. You have to make your own choices. It's going to hurt. It's going to stink. It's going to do these things. You, the best way to do this is point out, you know, what can happen. But right now we're telling kids that they can't live out feelings because that's not the proper way to do it. How the
Yeah.
hell do we know what the proper way to do is? You're going to tell me that you've never lived a mistake, a poor choice, or if you want to call it a mistake, I'll allow you to call it a mistake. I don't believe in mistakes. Poor choices is, lives are different now. We're more aware. Where, Joel, when I was a kid, a child with ADHD was a pain in the ass. That's what they were. There was no ADHD when we were growing up. Okay, a kid that was being a brat, a kid that was out of control, they were a pain in the ass. They were a brat. They weren't ADHD. There was no, there weren't all these tests and everything that, hey, my kid has a neurological issue. I just need to tell. No, no, your kid's a pain in the ass. That's the way it is. So things have changed, and we need to realize that, where every generation says the same damn things. These kids today, they don't know how to work. Rah, rah, rah. No, they figured out a better way to do it than what we used to do it. Let's work with them. Let's show them what we did. Let's learn what they did. Let's put them together and make what works for us, hopefully help them, and what is working for them, take on some of that knowledge, learn from them. And
Absolutely.
stop telling a
Absolutely.
kid that they're not what they are. We're confusing them. Parenting is not an easy thing, and it's not for the weak. And it's not for somebody who's not willing to learn lessons. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely. But it's something what you've raised down again. This is quite interesting in the UK. There's been a massive explosion in waiting lists for ADHD assessment for adults, but even more so for children. It is off the charts, and there is, like you said, particularly from my own personal experience, we're waiting for a final assessment with Aiden, or in regards to ADHD. But within that as well is the awareness around, this is my understanding. I've been diagnosed with ADHD as well. It's what does that mean? And when I reflect back on my childhood and and Aiden's, it's when there has been a level of trauma. What I mean, where things haven't ran that smoothly. And I'm not parent bashing here at all. My mum and my dad, the two individuals with their own issues, they got together, and those issues became worse. And they did their best to deal with what was presented with them. Me and my sister. No parents have kids to beat the shit out of them and abuse them in anger. Unfortunately, I know some children and adults have had that experience, but under normal general circumstances, people have kids and they do the best they can. They might get it, not make poor choices, but most of the time, that one would hope they do the best they can. So, when I look at Aiden, like I said, it wasn't particularly a pleasant time with me and his mum. It did have moments within that, and obviously that's going to have an impact in what we've been talking about. You're learning from behaviour or facial expression or body language more than what you say. So again, it's no wonder perhaps he may have a neurological disorder, not disorder. That's a horrible way. That his brain's adapted in a different way. To some degree, that's what ADHD and autism is.
Hmm.
Brain is adapted in a different way to survive, and it helps to bring awareness around certain behaviours that I do and certain behaviours that he does. But it's not an excuse to say when you do a poor choice, oh, that's my ADHD. No, 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 no. You still got to take responsibility for your actions. You still got to take responsibility for your behaviour and accountability. And what
Yeah.
I find with a lot of people, and that they put their children into an ADHD assessment, which is great. And then when they get diagnosed, everything that rolls off their tongue or in their children's behavior, they explain it, well, oh, that's their ADHD or that's their autism. No, it's not. What it actually is you as a parent need to do better and putting better boundaries in place and structure for your child. And as an adult, I've been diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, but I have mental capacity and the ability to understand poor choices,
Yeah.
responsibility, and accountability. Do you know what I mean? Yes, it has shaped my life, and potentially when I wasn't aware that I had ADHD, perhaps I would have made some of those choices differently. Perhaps. But it's still not an excuse to say, oh, when I look back over that, that was because of my ADHD, or what I did today because of such and such, well, that's my ADHD. No, it's not. And it's also not what some people do. What I heard recently, I was speaking to somebody about this. I got in conversation with an individual I was speaking to, just friendly conversation, and we got into talking about ADHD and this, that, and the other. And he was saying, my uncle, I think it was an uncle or something like that, I remember the family, he's pinning everything on an ADHD assessment as if that's the magic pill, the answer for it all. And it's not. Yes, it was useful to be diagnosed with ADHD to get awareness, understanding of how I operate, how the computer works up here, and how it has and does influence my behavior. But it's not something to put all my hopes in with, well, that's it now. That whenever something happens that I'm not happy with, or I do something to upset somebody else, or I make poor choices, to say that's my ADHD. That's not acceptable to do that. And I think this comes into what we've been talking about, where if anything, what it comes down to is it brings more awareness to yourself, but you are an adult who can make choices, and 9 out of 10 times you have capacity to understand right from wrong. There is no defunct position for that. That operating system doesn't get changed with ADHD. It's like, what I say to people, it's like you do something that's deemed to be wrong, and you find yourself in court. Just think how you're going to get on when you say to the judge, sorry, judge, I didn't mean to punch that person in the face. It's my ADHD. What do you
I
think
was
you're
off
going
my
to do?
meds. I was off my meds.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think the judge is going to go, there, it's all right, off you
Yeah.
go, see you later, don't you worry about that assault on that
Yeah.
individual, it's all right.
Yeah.
No, no,
Next time, just make sure
no.
you take your meds. That this
Yeah.
murder is okay. We get it. No. So
Life doesn't work that way, does
no.
it?
No. Look, people are forgiving to a point.
Yes.
They really are. So, Joel, thank you, brother. Enjoy your trip.
Absolutely.
I really, really am very jealous. I just want you to know that. Remember, every morning when you wake up, take a picture and send it to me just to make me go, asshole.
No, it's not just that with AI, Zach, it can put you in the picture and
Yeah,
send
there
it
you
back to
go.
you.
There we go. There we go. So, and before we go, I just do want to say something here to people, that one of the funnest things in the world to do is, if you really want to make people's lives a little interesting, take and share a story with them about something like pickles on Facebook, because that algorithm, the next couple of days, nothing but pickles will show up on on their Facebook page. I've done this to my wife, and it is so fun. She'll yell at me. It's like, I get every advertisement for pickles now, thanks to you. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not nice. But it is funny.
What's that? Don't do as I say, do as I
Yeah,
do.
yeah, there you go. There you go. So, Joel, how do people get a hold of you, brother?
Yeah, as always, Joel White, Rewire for Men, rewireformen.com. I've looked at my website. I'm always open for having virtual coffees with people. There's a back page on my website, Rewire for Men /mental clarity. Lots of useful information there. What I find with a lot of the men, we are lazy and we don't spend the time to look for really helpful information. So I've taken some of that effort out by putting on that webpage. But if people go on my website, a great pop-up comes up where they can download a booklet, which gives them lots of interesting understanding and tips around what some of the things we've been talking about today, really, around behavior and actions. So yeah, rewiredformen.com. There we are.
So, and I just, my final thing for everyone is let's stop using our calendars as an excuse for getting away with things or not doing things. We all have to learn how to manage our time better. We all have to make sure that, well, I don't have time to eat properly. Well, maybe that's because you don't want to eat properly.
Yeah.
You can't use your schedule as an excuse for everything. You just can't. Because
No.
if, Joel, you said it, if it's important to you, you will make time. So let's make sure that things that are important to you are more important than your time, because that's the only way that you're going to prove that they're more important to you. So, as if you make time. So, brother, again, thank you so very much. Next month, Joel and I are really going to start introducing our plans for a men's group that is going to be every month. We're going to be inviting you. I got to get through this 22-hour thing, and you've got to do a trip. And then when we get back together next month, we're really going to start pushing forward with this men's group. Men, we invite you to come and join us once a month. And it's going to be a chance to where you can, we're going to have it to where we can all get together and talk about things. If you have something private, we can go into breakout rooms, but it's going to be a group that men can get together and we can learn from each other. No one's going to be in charge. This is going to be a group of men that are going to get together and talk things through, because every once in a while we just need that.
Absolutely.
So, but thank you all very much. And again, please, if you look right over Joel's head, there is a red QR code. I need your help. My sick little computer here needs your help, because I've noticed in this, I'm having glitches, and we just don't want that on the most important show we do every year, the Mission for Healthy Heroes. So please support, or at least schedule yourself to come on board and tell your story, because your story can help people get around the walls that block their happiness. So please join us. Thank you very much, Joel. We'll see you in a month.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, my friend.
When you join the Community Pay It Forward family, your business can be seen, because people know your business will offer hope to organizations like Todd Lingle of CARES Foundation. CARES Foundation is a proud mission partner of Community Pay It Forward. CARES Foundation is dedicated to educating young drivers of the dangers of impaired and distracted driving. Every sale through Community Pay It Forward helps support incredible organizations like the CARES Foundation.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking, I love sharing stories, but social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement.
I encourage you to join us for Rewired for Men every month. Joel and I, we really do have a lot of fun. And it's an interesting show. We're also going to be starting another one with a friend of his, and we've done one show with her that really went well, Shamel, and we're going to add in the female opinion on what we're talking about. It's going to be called Nothing Off Limits, and it's a program that just that we're going to talk about men, we're going to talk about women, we're going to talk about how together we can make a relationship better, what we need to do. So I encourage everybody to watch out for that. It's going to be coming up here real soon. We just once again had to get past this, me doing the 22-hour podcast, him doing the trip to Egypt, that lucky I love him. Yeah. Someday. So, our next interview is special to me. He's my nephew. My middle brother married his wife, and Landon became part of our family. I don't get to see Landon very often. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw him, I was walking him and my son down the bank of a lake to go fishing. You know, just a little guy. He's just a little guy. I guess I saw him briefly one other time, but I mean, it has been a minute or two, and I could not believe how big he'd gotten. You know, you kind of forget time. You truly do. And seeing Landon when he popped into the house, well, when I picked him up from the airport, when was it? Monday? Sunday? Yeah, one of those 2 days of last week. It was amazing. And I almost hated taking him back to the airport yesterday, but it is what it is. And, you know, things, you got to do what you got to do. So, but our next interview is going to be my nephew, Landon. And I want to tell you now, the recording of this is a little sketchy. My beautiful bride Adrian was on her show, and so I had to use a laptop, and all 4 dogs decided at once that they needed attention from the new guy downstairs. Now, good news is that they didn't attack him, they didn't bite him, they didn't do anything like that, but they had to make sure they were in the screen. So Landon took part in fighting the fires in California last year. Landon's first fire that he went to was in Canada, and he is a very, very young man. Matter of fact, it's coming up. His birthday is just here in a couple days, and he turns 24. So I wanted to bring on Landon, and I wanted to talk to him because a lot of the people that we talk to have been in the field for a while or are retired from the field, have moved on. we don't usually get to talk to people who are just beginning. You know, what are some of the fears? What are some of the things that you're going through? What goes through your head when you see somebody who's been doing this for a while? Who's helped you out? Who's pushing you along? Who's doing what they're doing? So, I got the chance to ask him this, and I really wish we would have been able to do a better job of capturing this video, but I'm glad that I got to sit down with him and do this video regardless. So this is Landon DuBuc with me, Uncle Zach, and again, I do apologize for the crude recording, but as you'll see, one of the first things you see is our big white dog in the back of his head. But you know, we got through it, we recorded it, and learned a lot of really cool things. So here we go. This is myself and Landon, and great job, kid. Great job. Okay, everybody. Hey, how's it going? This is a really cool interview that I get to do because it actually means something. It's with a family member. It's with my nephew, Landon. Landon,
Howdy.
say hi to everyone.
Nice to meet y'all.
Part of Mission for Healthy Heroes. Landon is going to talk about you've become a firefighter at a very young age.
Yeah. No, I wanted to get out of kitchens, and I just naturally do a lot of hiking with my buddies. And one of my buddies, Quentin, was like, "Hey, I'm getting into this gig, and even though it's a little late right now, it'd be something cool that I think you would be interested in." Because he knew, along with a bunch of my other buddies, that like I'd been in kitchens since 14. I was just unhappy with it. Kind of felt like I was in the rut for a while. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do some type of forestry work, some type of just something to get me out there. And it was really hard to kind of get my foot in, I guess, those doors. But then my buddy Quentin just told me how easy it can be getting into, like, instead of working directly under the federal, working for private contracting, which is what we do. And that's how I learned about Patrick. And yeah, no, after his going into his second season, he was getting me super hyped for it, and we just pushed really hard. And he was getting me into the gym every single day with him, and we were just getting ready for it. And then I went for my first season, and even though there was a lot of new experiences and a lot of just stress in general, the experiences I got to have. I got to start my summer out in Canada,
Yeah.
which was really cool. And I just barely was able to apply for that and that was my first fire right out the rip, was just going out to another country, and especially a country that I hadn't traveled to yet. And so, yeah, no, it was an insane first season. And when I came back, it had me feeling pretty fulfilled and ready to just see my family and enjoy the winter. And now come summertime, I'm getting bored and I'm ready to get back out there. Like, there's something about it just gives me drive, gives me a sense of purpose, and obviously the money's pretty good. That's why a lot of people are out there. But I mostly just wanted to change my life. Wanted something to make me feel a little bit more accomplished at the end of the days. And yeah, that's what I think just helps, especially push me. Like it's a lot of days where I'll come back from, I'll start a lot of mornings where I'm like, man, today's going to suck. Then you finish it and you're like, man, hey, I like crushed today.
Yeah.
Met a lot of good people. You're like, oh man, I met some new crews on some other engines and stuff like that. And there's a lot of good people out there. It's a good experience for sure.
As somebody who likes to be in the wilderness, what is your first thought? Like I know that you were part of the California firefighting crew, but as the one that you were up in Canada, as being a fan of the wilderness, what is like the first thing that you think of when you go there and you see these monsters that are destroying? They're destroying nature, but truth is, they're also cleaning nature.
that is something that, yeah, a lot of people, when it comes to firefighters, like, or at least for wildland, like, it's not as much fighting as I would say it sounds like, for more structure and being inside as much as it is fire managing, because
Yeah.
sometimes it is beneficial. Sometimes you have areas where it's like, well, it's really thick, it's going to be hard to get through. Instead, we're going to go around and just kind of dig a hotline or some type of just hand line that's going to pretty much cut it off at some point and let it sort of lay itself down. But like going out in Canada, being out in like the nature out there, it was weird because it almost felt similar to our, at least to like my home of Idaho and the mountains. And mountains felt very similar, but there were a lot of lakes around. And because there was a lot of lakes, the mosquitoes were the biggest thing out there. They tore you up. They didn't care if you had anything on you. Like, you coat yourself in deep, mosquito spray, and 20 minutes later, they are just all over you. And so, the biggest thing out there was definitely the mosquitoes. If you're ever out around the Saskatchewan area, very beautiful turf, very beautiful land, great people. Even the ones that are down on their luck, and in some situations, they're just always super positive people, even when you just talk to them outside the gas station. And it's a great country. It's a great place, great people. A lot of bugs though. There's a lot of bugs that you wouldn't think it, because you'd think, oh man, like, it's Canada, it probably gets really cold. They have a very big bug population out there, and I know between that and that was my first experience really getting to see high numbers of pine beetles.
Oh yeah.
Which those things can hurt when they bite you. No venom or nothing, but they just no poison or nothing, but they just, when they bite you, they split skin.
Well, they're also devastating to the forest. Those things, I know 1 year, well, it was actually like 2 years. It closed down campfires in Colorado. Those things did. So, and that was right before we had that terrible forest fire that 1 to 2 that wiped out a good portion of up here in northern Colorado. Landon, what are some of the things that, like, are you in communication with your the people in charge right now? Are they kind of concerned about it being like as dry as it's been? Because out west, out here, like, a lot of people out east are getting pounded with snow and stuff. We haven't got anything out here. I mean, it snowed 3 times here in Colorado.
I know that there's a weird central area where I do follow my company on Facebook and a few other different platforms where I can just see they constantly like to post like recent fires where crews are out at. And I know that as of right now, it does kind of look like a lot of our crews are more, if anywhere, central. They're more centrally based around, I guess, like almost Midwest to East Coast area right now. It's kind of a weird time, I know, because you'll have some photos where it looks like they're out on some nice days, and then have some videos and photos where they're out on, even if there's a little bit of snow, as long as there's a fire ripping, they'll have us out there. And so, you can, it don't really matter as long as there's a spot where they need some resources. I know that my company tends to try to take everything that they can. So, that's why they can typically find, work for us all year round, or they'll give you the option to come back home for East Coast. So for the wintertime, to come see your family.
No.
And whatnot. But there are, I do know that they did say that this year was looking, just with how things have been and it being a more drier, I guess you could say, winter for a lot of places, especially around West Coast. It's looking to ramp up and be probably a very busy one, probably a very busy season, just from what I'm seeing and everything. But I could be wrong. Things could slow down and eventually, turn out to be another weird fire season like last one was, or it could be a super busy one. I had we had a lot of people last fire season come in for their first year, including me, and that's why I got cycled off for like 2 months, because they literally had to get as many people out as they could for their first time. And so this year will probably, I'll start a little bit earlier too. It looks like I'll probably be back on call and starting way before even my birthday, versus last year where I pretty sure like right after my birthday, or actually I did it like a month before my birthday, and then was on call but was still at home for a while and was just sitting and waiting. And
You are obviously, you already said that you're not working for the federal government, you're working for a civilian engineer. Is there a difference between, like, when you're talking to somebody who does work for the federal government, like the benefits, like, I'm pretty sure that your health care is probably better than what they get,
in
because honestly, their health care is
so from
really.
what I've pieced together, the difference between federal and I would say like private contracting is at first for a while it was meant to be like mostly benefits and stuff like that. I know that some can apply with retirement as well as I mean my company we do get like we get health hazard and medical, which is all nice, and so that like that is kind of I mean at least in my opinion that's just the basics of what I need for right now, and so it does just fine for me. But I know that once you start getting more into federal, that is the time where they are a lot more. I guess you could say almost that is when you'll start to find more hot shots and more
Yeah.
hot shot workers. And there have been some pretty cool hot shots that I've met that have been really cool people, but it's been very rare. There are a lot of like there's a weird divide between private and federal because people who are federal think that I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just resources on the same fire, but some people will let that little ego thing get to them. And so there were, for example, like out in Canada, we had a company, the Sawtooth. I want to say it was the Sawtooth Hot Shots. Um, when they first showed up, because they were like, I want to say the second or third, because we were either the first or second like American crew to show up at that time. And when they showed up shortly after us, they ended up getting a bad review because of how just negative they were towards a lot of people in the camp. Like I just say good morning. I'm really nice. I try to say good morning to everyone as I walk by. Like no matter if you're on my crew or not, we're all on that same fire. Um, and I've had dudes that I've said good morning and asked them how they are, and they'll just like look at me up and down and just kind of like scoff and like keep walking. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. And then I find out, oh well, it's because they're a hotshot crew.
Yeah.
And so they think that they're above a lot of people, and so when they see private contractors. It's because back in the day, private contractors used to be run a lot more loosely. There used to be like a really big drug problem back when my base manager, from what I hear, when he was like first starting, they had like heavy drugs and stuff that they were doing out on the fires, and so that's why at least our company and a few others I've come to understand have kind of made or have gained a bad reputation due to that. And that's why my company is at least trying to be more professional and trying to run like I've been told by some ex-military that are in our company that we run ours very like an old school military pretty much. And so yeah, but yeah, it's just the main difference is that you have a lot more time that you are on call, and you have a lot more time where you cannot, I guess, call off. There are a lot more days in the year where you are required to be on call versus for you know private contracting. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, it really, I mean, there are some people that I know will just go all year round. They
Yeah.
don't have family or friends where
Yep.
they're from, and so they just will travel around. I know that I've seen people with camping builds on their vehicles that'll just pull up and be like, "Hey, I was told to show up for a fire. Do you guys still got those resources needed?" And so, yeah, I know that Power can be ran a little bit differently. I have not been in long enough to know fully how federal is ran on the inside. I've only been able to talk to a few buddies, but even those buddies were mostly in like chipper crews, which are mostly the ones who run like those machines that'll saw up trees and branches and whatnot when you're trying to clear debris upon roads and all that. So,
Mhm. What are some of the fears that you have, and how do you cope with them?
um, I, me personally, I think that like even though I'm a very naturally stressed and anxiety ridden person, and so I've just always kind of had to deal with that stuff. And being in more high stress situations, I feel like because I've been dealing with stuff like that over the years, that it's weird because it's almost like something that, like, I mean, for example, out in Washington, I almost had a couple trees fall and take me out, and it could have been very fatal, could have been very bad. And I don't know what it is, but I try to keep up the morale of everyone around me, because that in a way will turn around and like work as a morale back for me too, you know? Because like if I keep 20 motherfuckers positive, then once I start getting negative, I got at least 15 motherfuckers that are gonna, come back to me with some positiveness. And, with all that, like, you gotta just kind of laugh stuff off sometimes. I mean, there was at one point where me and my buddy were in the middle of just karaokeing, like Weird Al Yankovic or something for fun, and we were singing some random song like Amish Paradise, and a faller crew had tried to drop a tree a couple hundred yards away, and it ended up falling weirdly and pivoting, and so it fell in the complete opposite direction, or actually, well, not opposite, but it fell way far to the left than what they were wanting, and ended up beaming another tree, and that tree ended up falling down and beaming down onto the ground maybe 10, 15 feet from me and my buddy. Had that tree fallen a lot more straight, it definitely could have hit one of us, but because it hit and then it itself kind of hit a weird angle and fell down, it just missed us, and we just kind of like both looked at each other and had that look of like, all right, you're good, you're still breathing, you weren't hit, and then we just both kind of laughed and like kept going back to it and just singing our song. And it's all about just how I mean, you have to learn to handle that stuff. I mean, that's respectfully, like, you can't almost die on a job like that and start freaking out, because like at that point you really shouldn't be up on the mountain. Like, there's a lot of videos that people will get, and I've gotten myself, of like driving through some crazy places where everything's on fire and you can feel the heat radiating on the glass, and you can just hear reggae music or something playing casually in the background, and everyone's kind of just in a positive mood. Like, even though we're all locked in, you've got it just quietly playing enough for us to hear it, but enough for us to still hear the radio. And you just gotta kind of keep morale high. Still hear us kind of laughing in those videos and just chatting. And a lot of my family are just kind of baffled by that. And it's like, well, respectfully, if I was sitting there freaking out, like, I probably shouldn't be going out there in the first place. Because if stuff really does hit the fan, I need to know that I can keep calm. If it's, my life that's in danger or someone else's, I need to be able to keep calm, think, and respond accordingly to the situation in a timely manner enough that can make sure that whoever's life is at risk, we can get them out as soon as possible.
Honestly, I tell people all the time that if you are going to be nervous about getting hit on a motorcycle, me being in an accident before, I've told people all the time, if you're going to constantly be nervous about getting hit on a motorcycle, you should stay the hell off a motorcycle, because you're going to get yourself into an accident if that's all you're thinking. It's like, could this be my last day? Could this be my last day? Honestly, you could fall off your stairs and this could be your last day. We never know that. So I think that you've got the right attitude there, just knowing that, this, you gotta take it, ebb and flow. So, you wanted to make mention to all the younger people out there that there could be a possibility for them to go and
Yeah, I know that my company, we're spread pretty far. We've got bases, like, at least, especially all over the West Coast. I know that. I feel like it's a little bit more or less bases towards East Coast, but we still have, I mean, bases all over. And if I can, I mean, I got a lot of buddies who where they don't know where they want to go, don't know what they want to do, and I understand getting in that rut, but there are a lot of buddies who have been in a rut for a long time, and I've been in a rut for a while myself until I got into this job, and it kind of gave me a sense of purpose. It's just, there are things that if you just put yourself in the right position and make sure that as long as you are keeping your eyes open for when doors open, just take those opportunities. Because if I never took this opportunity, I wouldn't have been able to have the experiences that I had, have the stories I have a crew boss who runs 3 different crews, that's 60 different people out in Canada who wants to hire me, who wants me to move out to Canada and be out there. And also with California, I had a couple chipper crews and a couple of faller crews that just really liked me and were telling me like if I ever wanted a job in their area, that I could find one. And it's stuff like that that makes it all definitely worth it. You know, as shitty as it can be and as scary as it can be. I mean, you gotta lock in and make sure that like when you go out there, like I know a lot of people have the money be the concern, but at the end of the day, I mean, you're not exactly in a war, but man, it is fucking dangerous. You gotta watch your back. You gotta watch everyone else's back. You gotta. I mean, you may not be fighting humans out there, but you're fighting Mother Nature, and that's something that almost it's hard to explain. It's like there is a conscious, but there's not. You know what I mean? Like she moves how she feels fit, and whether you're there or not, it don't matter. Because same with the deer, same with the gophers, same with the birds. You find so many animals that are burnt over out there that either couldn't run out quick enough or got hurt and weren't able to make it out quick enough. And you know that same thing can happen to any of us. You know, we're all just flesh and bone, just like those creatures. And so yeah, you gotta be very intuitive on it. But if you got the drive and you want to make that change in your life, like I really recommend it for anyone, especially if you're like me, and even if you've been born and raised in the cities, or that's where you ended up eventually. Like, yeah, my calling was out towards the mountains, and that's what drove me to do this. And so, to anyone who's in their 20s or higher, or just at any point in your life where you want to change and you keep saying, "Oh, well, I would love to do that," or "I wish I could do," yeah, you can do that. It's a matter of just getting it fucking done or not.
Yeah. Pull your head out of your ass and do a job.
Yeah.
You know, and you know we're remarkable machines. The human body is a remarkable machine. We can do a lot of shit until we can't do it no more. You know. So, look, kiddo, I'm beyond proud of you. You know, I know that I know hearing that you know you're out there and you're doing that stuff. It being here in Colorado and living through a couple of those fires that were really close. You know, we had one out in Fort Collins that, I mean, we were covered in smoke here in Greeley, and it was devastating. You walked outside and you couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
you know,
I think
so
we did almost get sent onto that fire, and we actually were passing through Colorado at one point over to another area. I remember seeing how smoky it was.
Yeah,
it can get bad out here.
Yeah, but so you know what? I'm going to tell everybody right now. This summer, because of the fire danger, just be careful with what you're doing. Because if you hurt my nephew, I'm going to kick your ass. So
and
just,
I would definitely
just to let you know,
say, listen to, you know, there are a lot of people out there that I have seen causing issues with, you know, like if you're trying to get somewhere and your road is blocked, and you see people who are stopping you and telling you, hey, like, you need to pick another way. Don't sit there and argue. Just get it figured out, because sometimes, you know, I've been in a position where I've gotten stuck for 40 minutes in a spot because we're waiting for civilians up ahead to get out of our way so that we can get in there and do our job. And there was at one point where we actually weren't able to start our job that day, even though we were there early enough because of that. And so, like, I know things can get frustrating, but, man, like, you got to think about it. There are people who, like, they're not letting you drive into that because of how dangerous it is. And so those who are driving into that, you need to make sure that you are out of our way so that we can get in, get our job done, get out as quickly, safely as possible, because those are human lives going in there. They got families, they got friends, they got people that they need to come back home to. And as long as everything can move smoothly, and that's just like the best you can do. Best you can do, yeah. Just make sure you keep out of our way, and for the most part, I don't speak for every company, but I know that a lot of the people that I do work with out there are very respectful, are really good people. It may look a little rough on the edges, but that's just the kind of work and what that sort of job does to people. But man, there are some really good folks out there, and if if you do know anyone who is in wildland, winter I know can be a really rough time for them. So just try to be there. I only met someone on one fire, and that was when I was out in Redmond. Come wintertime, he missed a call, and because of that, he had a whole mental episode and ended up taking his life before he did some terrible things. And yeah, so you just never know what people are going through. So if you know people who are in first responding business, just always try to keep up on them, ask them how they're doing, ask them what's up with them.
Yep. And we've talked about this plenty. These computers, they're amazing things. There is no longer that excuse that I couldn't get a hold of them. Okay. I didn't have time to reach out to them. That's bullshit. Reach out, make sure everyone's okay. Landon, thank you for doing this for me.
Of course.
I greatly appreciate it. And, hey, we'll tag his company for anybody who's interested in checking it out. Look, this could be a very, very busy season, summer. So, you can't just go out there and think that you're going to, put on a suit and look cute. It's somebody, you're going to go out there and work your ass off.
And
but
I don't know how other companies run, but if you are going into something like Patrick, where it is a little bit easier to get into, the reason it is easier is because you do have to take an investment into it. So you do have to buy your own boots, buy some of your own gear. There's stuff that they do provide for you that is cheap stuff that comes out of your, like your boot grease, your gloves, your sweat thing that goes in your helmet, your sweatband. They provide some other stuff for you, but it is an investment. I probably spent about originally I probably spent about $1,500 on gear, and then slowly over the fire season was replacing stuff. I mean, I ended up having to replace one of my bags and get a waterproof one because sometimes your duffel bag isn't waterproof, and it's just easier to take another duffel bag and drop it in your bag, zip that shit up, get your Nomex on, you're ready. You can start getting shit going while other people are getting their pants on and dicking around. And but yeah, it's an investment for sure. It's something that if you get into, you have to be willing to like really push yourself. That's also with the PAX exam. You can't even get into the class unless you can make it 3 miles with a 45-pound vest on. So just something to keep in mind for anyone who's applying.
Well, like I said, what we'll do is we'll go on ahead and we'll tag the information so you can go and check it out. It's definitely a worthwhile thing, but this is just, I wanted to bring Landon on because we've talked to a lot of people who are veterans. We've always talked to people who have been through stuff. Landon is just now beginning his career, and I know that things aren't always going to be pretty, but he's doing what he loves, and I love being able to talk to him before any jaded stuff starts, and just know that I appreciate everything that you're doing, and you truly are, you are one of my heroes, kiddo.
I really appreciate it.
I do appreciate it, so thank you.
No, of course.
So,
and I appreciate what you're doing as well. So that's why I wanted to get you down, bud.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to take the time and come down here and do this, because I could see how important it was, and it's a good thing that you're doing. So
fighting with all the dogs has probably been the most difficult part of this damn interview. So we've been trying to get it for the last couple of days, but hectic visits and stuff. But
I've also been napping a lot.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? You know what? I wish I was napping a little bit more. But hey, everybody, this is Zach Clayton here with my nephew Landon. We're going to continue now with more from Mission for Healthy Heroes. Please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and make a comment, because if you do that, you're going to be put into the wheel of giving, and if your name gets picked, you're going to win some prizes that we've got donations for. So it doesn't cost you anything to do it, but make sure that you make a comment. Let us know that you're watching. Maybe you can win yourself a 1 hour tarot reading from Len Sobolski. So we'll talk to you all later. Thank you.
You guys have a beautiful day, and take care.
Thank you, kiddo. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Every car that rolls into your shop is more than just a repair, it's someone's lifeline. Now, what if every repair could also be a lifeline for someone in need? When you join Community Pay It Forward, a portion of each job can help a family, veteran, or nonprofit without costing your customer anything extra. With the Shop, Click, and Pick program, your shop keeps cars running. Let's keep communities running too. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. We are excited to introduce you to the brand new Community Pay It Forward app. First, head to Google Play and download it by searching for Community Pay It Forward or simply scan the QR code on your screen. Simply find your Partners tab on the bottom of the screen. Open the Giving Partners tab and explore the businesses that care. Choose a partner that satisfies your personal needs. Shop with a purpose. Do business with your chosen partner either online or through their pay portal or in store. If you shop in person, please don't forget to keep your receipt. And now the magic happens. Start your donation. In the app, tap the Start Donation process. Enter the partner's name, purchase date, and the amount spent. Take a quick photo of your receipt or upload it from the memory in your device. Choosing your mission to support is the most important part of this process. What touches your heart? What drives your emotions and makes you want to support them? There are so many wonderful people doing fantastic things, and they can be found under the Mission Partners tab on the bottom of the app. Confirm and submit, and that is it. You can also discover further features on the app, such as joining local events in your community, tracking your personal impact and donation history, keeping your profile up to date in the Account tab. All this with our easy-to-access features like dark mode and larger font size. This will allow you to do your business and browse the app with comfort and accessibility. Are you a small business owner? You can join us too. Download the partner booklet directly from the app, pick your package, and instantly become part of a positive solution. The Community Pay It Forward app makes it easy to turn everyday shopping into meaningful change. Download it today and help us create a stronger, more connected community. Because at Community Pay It Forward, we believe no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. So we are beginning hour number 5. We're actually 7 minutes into hour number 5, and this hour here, we're going to be talking a little bit about the mission. And one of the things that I want to do, and sorry about the view, I've decided I was going to stand up for this one because, sitting down all that time is just too much. So, but one of the things that I want to do is I want to introduce you guys to our character. You see him in all the videos now. He's a little polar bear character, and the name for the polar bear, or the polar bear, came about because when I met the president of the VFW Warriors, he when I went to go and talk to him for the very first time, I met him at an establishment and it was snowing. Well, I rolled up on my bike. That's just who I was. And he looked at me, Dave looked at me, and he goes, "Boy, you must have polar bear in your blood." So that's where the polar bear, that became my riding name, and that became a huge part of my life. So that's where the polar bear comes from. That's what the character is. When we first introduced the polar bear, the name Nita was the original name. So for those of you who have been with me for quite a while, you may remember the name Nita. and Nita is indigenous for bear. And so we went with Nita for a while. That's what we were going to go with. That's all. Um, it was a name that I liked. It was a name that fit what we were trying to do. It was a name that just was really neat, I thought. And but then but then last year, it's been about 3 weeks. Last year I lost somebody who was very, very, very important to me. He is still to this day. He is very, very important to me. One of the greatest men I ever had a chance to know. I ever had a chance to be around. He was my Uncle Barry, and he, from the time when I was a kid, and see, the thing is my dad and Uncle Barry were close, and they were really close. They grew up in the town of Otis, Colorado, and if you've never been or heard of Otis, Colorado, there's a reason for that. It's the size of a dime. It's tiny. Okay, I think the biggest part of Otis might be the cemetery. So our family already has a lot of ghosts in Otis, and so we go in there every once in a while. But my Uncle Barry, he was a guy that I could talk to all the time about anything. When I first started truck driving, Unc would call me. He would call me and ask me how I was doing, ask me what was going on, ask me if I had any questions, if I needed any help. He would check on me emotionally. He knew that I had never had a job like that, and he understood that, that the difficulty of adjusting to a job like this. Of course, I had no idea. I was clueless to how much it could actually affect you. So, but having him as a sounding board for this was great. He was one of the gentlemen that I talk about quite frequently. That Uncle Barry and I couldn't have been further apart on the political scale if we tried. It was impossible for us to be any further apart on that. He knew it, I knew it, but we never, ever, ever let that be a factor of contention. We ended every conversation with "I love you." We ended every conversation with a hug. We didn't fight about it. You don't have to. Believe it or not, you don't have to. And I think he's one of the reasons why I do what we are doing here today, is because the lessons that I learned from my relationship with him are part of the reasons why it upsets me the way that the world is today, with people not being able to talk to each other because, well, you're a liberal, well, you're a Nazi, you're a, I guess if you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi. That's what that is. Um, but I mean, the thing is that we're all still human beings in the end. We all still need to be taken care of, and we need other people to be around us. I catch hell all the time for saying this. And I kind of enjoy calling them out. I tell people all the time, you need to have other people around you. Okay? Look, there's a reason why solitary confinement, and I brought this up the other day. There's a reason why solitary confinement is a punishment. And it's a punishment that if you listen to people who have been incarcerated, they will tell you it is very difficult on you. I thankfully have never experienced it. I've never had to deal with any type of incarceration of that type. I've actually never spent any time in jail. Holding cells, yes, I have. Never jail. But we need people around us. We need people to help support us. We need to support each other. And we need to remember that we were created or we were raised in different ways. Okay? Expecting somebody to be just like you, first off, you're insane. If you want anybody to be just like you are insane. I as I'm sitting here, well, I guess I'm not watching it there, but as I'm sitting here watching the U.S. Canadian gold medal game right now, you know, if I were watching hockey with somebody that's not my son, not my wife, I'd probably want to be watching somebody who's cheering for Canada, so we could have a little bit of the to and fro and have a little bit of fun with it, because that makes life a little more exciting. It makes the conversation more fun. Um, the entirety of my family are huge Bronco fans, and I'm not. I truthfully care very little about football, but I mean, if I'm going to be a football fan, I've been a Chiefs fan. It was, matter of fact, it was Derek Thomas. The day that he died, that's the day that I fell out of love with football. He was somebody I respected. He was somebody I loved. He was somebody who, you know, um, he was my guy when it came to football. And I enjoy that banter. I enjoy the playing around. I enjoy the, you know, Denver walks on Kansas City and everybody gives me a ration. I don't get offended by it. I don't care. It's fine. And that's something that being able to have that strong relationship with my uncle meant a lot, because it didn't matter the differences. There was still that one thing that was the same, is that we were the same species. We still needed to be with each other. We still needed each other. And that is what makes this day, that's what makes this all important. I miss him. Mentioned earlier, I'm wearing one of my grandfather's pins, his tie pin. I miss him. I've got my other grandfather's wallet and his ID in my pocket. I miss him. I miss them all. My two grandfathers fought in World War II. Uncle Barry fought and got really sick in Vietnam. We lost him to cancer, like I said last year. Those are the important facts, folks. Not that my uncle voted for the other guy. Not that he supported the other guy. None of that's important. None of that's important. None of it. And I would defend my uncle to anyone if they wanted to bash on his decision because of this. When he strapped that uniform onto his body, when he raised his right hand, when my father raised his right hand to join the service, they did this to be able to come home and vote for who they wanted to vote for and allow me to vote for whoever I wanted to vote for. If we take that away, you may be comfortable because everybody's, nobody's voting for the guy that you didn't like, but you don't have freedom anymore. So maybe do this. Maybe instead of getting into an argument with somebody that's in your family that is a different religion, is a different political affiliation, that I don't care about sports. I'm sorry, but if you get too serious about sports to where you cannot hang out with somebody who likes a different team, grow up. Seriously, grow up. I'm sorry, but grow up. Find people who are different than you and learn from them. They can teach you something. The people who are just like you, the people who like the same things that you like, the people who are identical to you, you can't learn anything from them. Sorry, you just can't. It's not how it goes. That's just not how it goes. Anyway, back to the story. The polar bear. The polar bear has been renamed to Bear E. Okay. BEAR space capital E point Bear E, my Uncle Barry. It's in honor of him. It's so he's always a part of what he taught me about this. Our relationship taught me how to tolerate, not just tolerate, but to live with being uncomfortable. So the polar bear is an homage to my Uncle Barry. Community Dare to Care. My mom and dad opened a nonprofit years ago that was based on giving food boxes to people for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Well, at the same time, I was grabbing donations and handing them off to people in the community who needed help. Okay. So when my mom decided not to re up her nonprofit, as an homage to them, I went on ahead and instead of just calling it Community Cares, which is what it was, I went on ahead and I changed the name Community Dare to Care. And if you look at the logo of the Come Together Compass, inside you will see the Tree of Life. And that is something that's very important to my mom. Community Dare to Care is going to be mixed into the compass, but it's going to be one of the directions of the compass. Okay, it's not going to stand alone on its own anymore, because the compass is going to be here, and it's going to take over. So, you know, Community Dare to Care is going to be taking a backseat to the compass. But I started all of this stuff because of my motorcycle accident. 2014, I was helping somebody celebrate their 50th year of their business, the 50th year of the Windjammer up at Carter Lake. And we closed down. I helped them clean up. And then I was going to go and meet my cousin and a couple friends at the Beaver's Den. We were going to camp over there. And, you know, just have a little bit of fun, do a little bit of partying, enjoy the warm weather. It was August. It was starting to get cold, starting to get chillier. And so there's the dogs. And so we decided that, you know, we were going to stay the night there. And then that way nobody was driving late at night. Nobody was going to, you know, be dealing with anything. And what happened was I was going one way. I was heading north and somebody else was coming south. And this vehicle drove in front of me. And so I had to try to move past him. Well, if you look at the motorcycle tracks, in which I don't remember the accident still to this day, if you look at the motorcycle tracks, you can see how I went past them. And when I swerved past them, I hit soft dirt and I ended up in the ditch. I ended up, wow, that's a weird sound out there. So I ended up in the ditch. I ended up having, you know, getting hurt. And it was very simply, I needed something to do. And so that is the birth of Community Pay It Forward. So, but this is a program that was built because, look, people need help. Help is not money. Not all the time. Money can be some of the worst things that you can throw at a situation. Money can be terrible to throw at a situation. It could be as simple as listening to people. I've been taking a poll here so far this morning of our guests. And when I ask them, what do we need to do? What do we need to better? What do we need to do better to make sure people don't get forgotten? We got ask questions, check in with them, stronger open communication, and swallow our pride. Here's the funny thing about that. Each one of those has 2 check marks by it. That means that it's not something the person was thinking. It's something that multiple people are thinking. What we're starting to notice, folks, is people understand what the problem is. People see what we can do better. Now we, as a community, just have to do better. That's it. It's simply on us. We know what the problem is. Again, we know what the problem is. We just have to get out of our own ruts. We have to get out of our own ways, and we have to open this communication. We have to open our hearts, and we have to let other people in. We have to do this. As I just talked to you about, it doesn't matter who the other idiot is that you voted for. They're all lying to us. None of them give a rat's ass about us. That's it. Hell, as we talked with our first guest this morning, somebody who's suffering because, the VA not getting the money and now getting cuts. And why are they getting cuts? Because they always put a bill for the VA tied in with other things that cannot get passed. And that's just ridiculous. We've got to get a hold of our congressmen, of our state representatives, and say, no more tying VA and healthcare with other bills. It's too important. I don't care if your dog doesn't get groomed 3 times an hour. Our tax money shouldn't go for that anyway. But the VA not getting the VA not getting funded because one side wants to appease their oil people, and the other side wants to appease their wind people. And because there's bitching and moaning there, we don't get VA coverage and they don't get money. That's just ridiculous. And it's not working. And people are getting left in the lurch. There's 2 things that we can do. In my mind, I see 2 things that we can do. 1, we can write our congressman. We can reach out to our government and we can tell them, look, I'm sick and tired of this. Pull your heads out of your ass and make a difference, or move on and let somebody else do it. I'd say that's a great thing, but here's the problem. They're not going to. They're not going to move on. They've got a job where I loved the idea that, you know what, when you're in office, no matter what your office is, I love the idea of you have to go to the VA. That's where your healthcare comes from. I loved that idea. I thought that was awesome. That would sure as hell make a difference. There would be people who make there would definitely be people who would make changes immediately if our governors, if our people started seeing the struggles that our veterans, that our heroes go through. I'm pretty sure then there would be changes made. The other thing that we can do, and this is the thing that in my mind I see more plausible. We do this together. We build something. We work with each other and we make the difference. We help each other. We stand up for each other. We care for each other. I don't know. To me, it sounds a hell of a lot easier, and it definitely sounds like something that's going to make a difference. I see that as a way that things are going to get done. If you disagree with me, hit me up in the chat. I'd love to get your opinions. I'd love to hear more about what you have to say because, like I said, I don't have faith in the people who, quote unquote, run the company or the country, the company. Uh-oh. I don't think they hurt enough to make a change. And I think we are hurting too much to force them to make a change. We're afraid. So let's do the next best thing. Let's take it out of their hands. Let's help each other. And let's show them. We don't need you all to sit around in your big cushy offices and argue all day. We don't need that. Because we've got each other. We've got each other's backs. We're here for each other. Is that going to teach them a lesson? No, probably not. They're still going to be pompous and think it's all about them. But guess what? We're going to stop hurting each other. And we're going to start helping each other. Again, I'd love to get your comments. If you have anything that you would like to say, please leave it in the chat. Reach out to me. I would absolutely love to know more. I really would. We've got to do something. And I just don't see it getting any better if we don't. And, one of the things that we're doing and what we're trying to introduce you all today is the come together compass. Sorry, I got distracted, saw a shiny object. I think it was like my thinning hair, my head shined through. Standing up, I can actually see stuff, so that's pretty scary. But we're introducing everyone today, and we're raising money. Oh, geez, that's what I'm missing. There we go. We're raising more money for the Come Together Compass. If you'd like to learn more about the Come Together Compass, this red QR code right up here in the corner will take you to the page that's got the documentation on what the Come Together Compass is. It's going to explain more about it. It's going to tell you more about it. Next hour, I believe, yes, next segment here in about an hour, a little short of an hour, we're going to replay a segment about the Come Together Compass, and you're going to see a video that the kids from Arizona State University sent us, and they talk about the compass. They're building the compass from ground up, so who better to talk about it than the ones who are building it. So I want to thank those 3 students who are working their butts off to try to make this old guy with grandiose dreams make it come true. So, but until then, I would like to play this for you, and it explains a little bit about what the compass is.
Life hits fast. Crisis doesn't wait. And too many families face hardship alone. But what if one community, one movement, could guide people from crisis to stability and finally home? The Come Together Compass was created for one reason. No one should face hardship alone. Families are overwhelmed. Nonprofits are stretched thin. Businesses want to help but don't know where to start. Resources exist, but they're scattered, confusing, and hard to access. The purpose of the Come Together Compass is simple: to guide people from crisis to stability by uniting the community around them. The compass removes confusion, connects families to real help, gives businesses a meaningful way to give back, and builds a culture where compassion is the norm. At the heart of the compass is a belief. When we work together, we guide people home. Home isn't just a place, it's safety, it's support. It's knowing someone cares enough to walk with you through the storm. The North Pillar is physical needs, providing real, immediate help: food, clothing, household essentials, transportation, emergency resources. When crisis hits, people don't need a maze, they need a map. The compass gives them a clear path to support. The East Pillar is emotional needs, because hardship isn't just physical. People need connection, encouragement, and strength. The compass offers peer support, check-ins, and mental wellness resources. Help that feels human, not transactional. The South Pillar is community connection, building long-term stability. The compass links families to nonprofits, business partners, volunteers, and community events. This is how crisis becomes stability, and stability becomes empowerment. And the West Pillar is the promise of the compass, the commitment that no one will be left behind. Every family will be met with dignity. Every partner will be valued. Every act of kindness will guide someone closer to home. The compass serves families and individuals facing hardship, nonprofits who want to collaborate, businesses who want to give back, donors and volunteers who want to make a real impact. The compass matters because people are struggling silently, because resources are scattered, because good people want to help but don't know where to start, because community should mean something. This is more than a program. It is a beacon, a guide, a promise. Join the movement, support a family, partner with the compass. Help us guide people home.
Okay, well, that's it. I quit. I'm done. Canada just scored, so I don't know. I'm not sure if I can continue. Yeah, I think I can continue. So, still 1-1. Still 1-1, but USA, come on. So, anyway, if you have any questions about the Come Together Compass, I implore you, please reach out to us. You can get a hold of me directly by going to my email. It's zak@communitypayitforward.us. That's zak@communitypayitforward.us. You can also scan the red QR code above me. And if you scan that code, it's going to take you to this email or this website, okay, right down here. It's going to take you there, and you can see why we're doing this 22-hour marathon, what the compass is. You're going to meet our wonderful, wonderful partners, the people who have helped us do this, helped us put this all together. You're going to find out more information than you probably really need. But it's also a way that you can get a hold of people and tell them, look, something's coming out that's going to make a difference. It's not just going to make a difference for me, it's going to make a difference for you. It's going to make a difference for us all. Folks, it's actually going to give us a shot at helping everyone. And that is the most important thing we can do. Again, I don't know how I can say it any louder. We cannot wait around for other people to do things. Things right now are at an all-time horrific level. There are over 50 million Americans right now struggling with the mental health issues. Being a part of civilization right now, that's one of the reasons why people are struggling. They're struggling because they don't know who they can go and talk to. They don't know if they can have a conversation with somebody because, well, you're different than me. Are you going to treat me like an asshole or are you going to treat me like a human? Let's remember this. We don't have to argue every time that we open our mouths. Yeah, it's kind of fun sometimes, but still, it's not necessary. We don't have to do that. It doesn't hurt to lend a hand. I say it all the time during the podcast. If you have an old hoodie, okay, one that no longer fits you, put it in your vehicle. If you see somebody out there that's struggling with the elements, give it to them. Don't put it in a yard sale. Do you really need that 50 cents? Don't take it to a thrift store that's going to be, some college student's going to buy it just to be retro or whatever the hell they want to call it. Give it to somebody out there who's struggling with the elements. If you make too much food, take and throw it in the old hillbilly Tupperware and take it to a shut-in neighbor. You're doing two things there. You're making sure that they're eating, and you're doing the most powerful thing in the world you can do. You're checking in with them. Not checking on them, checking in with them. You're letting them know, hey, I care. I care. That's going to make a huge difference in someone's life. It's going to make a huge difference in your life because doing good feels good. It makes us, look, it helps us with our own self-image. It helps us with the endorphins, with all those chemical things that are in our body. It makes the synapses pop or whatever the hell they're called. It makes us feel better when we help others. Again, every time you hear the words, I need help, it doesn't mean pull out your wallet. The next question out of your mouth should be, what do you need? And then listen. Listen. Don't talk. Listen. Hear what they say. And if you don't have the money, say, you know what? I don't have any cash I can give you. But if you're looking for food, maybe we can find a way to get you to the food bank. Maybe we can find a way to get you to one of the local churches around town that offer food boxes. Oh, you're needing a suit to go look for a job? Let's see what we can do about that. Let's call some of these closets that are around town to see how we can help you. It would shock you if you look around at all of the nonprofits in your area. You would probably lose your mind because there are so many different nonprofits in your area and people just don't know about them. Well, the Come Together Compass is going to give those smaller nonprofits a voice, and we're going to give people a chance, and we're going to invite people to visit them and utilize them. When our community becomes healthy, when our community grows. Thank you, Mary. You're correct. That's what I was just saying. Sometimes we just need to vent and let, we just need somebody to sit there and listen to us. And look, if you're talking to somebody that's having a very, very difficult mental situation, to where they're talking about self-harm or something, and deep down that you are not strong enough to handle that conversation, there's absolutely no, you should harbor no guilt towards yourself. But don't walk away from that situation until we found someone else that can handle sitting there and listening to what they've got to say. Because if you walk away from somebody thinking, yeah, we talked, we got the situation, they're okay, you may not ever be able to have another conversation with them. Don't walk away from a situation unless you know the person's had a chance to be heard. And again, if you have to call someone to say, look, I just don't know how to properly listen to this. Maybe you're going through your own stuff, in which, you know what, we all are. But if you just don't feel like mentally you're in a place to deal with that, that's where you've got to help them find someone else. And that is one of the reasons why the Compass is going to mean so much. Again, please, any donation, $5, $10, whatever, use the QR code above, the PayPal QR code above. Help us get that out. Here in about 30 minutes, in just a little over 38 minutes from now, we're going to play the segment that is going to 100%, as close as 100% as it gets, explain the Come Together Compass, including a very short video from the kids at ASU talking about where they're at with it now. And this is the important part right here, folks. Today, one of the things that we're asking you to do, speak up. I've got it written here. What are the things that we need to make sure that the Compass covers? Ask questions, check-ins, open lines of communication in helping people swallow their pride. Those are a couple of the things that people have suggested. Getting people to swallow their pride, that one might be a little bit difficult, but we might be able to give them a couple, exercises. I know the kids at ASU right now, they're talking to a couple of their counselors, partly because, those counselors know how to deal with kids. And where I've got my sons that are, well, hell, my sons are older than these kids. Damn, Dad, that makes you old. You got grandkids older than college kids.
I'm older than his son.
So, but, we're looking for your opinion. We're looking for your advice. We want the Compass to be the most important website out there because we want it to be there to help everyone. Plain, pure, and simple. It's a beautiful idea, but it's only a beautiful idea if we can get it to work. So we're asking you to please take a minute, start coming up with some ideas, make sure that we get this right. So we are about done with the second segment. We're going to shut the second segment down here in about 5 minutes. After that, we're going to take a 5-minute break before we start up again. If you are joining us on one of our Facebook pages, we are probably going to disappear off the Facebook page, but you can continue to stream all day long, all 22 hours on Things Network or Packed Podcasting. Okay. So, or Pack Channel, you just go to the Pack Channel. What you can do is you can scan the QR code, the red QR code, and you go there to that page and you can click on to those channels and you can find them. Okay. You can also find our show on my Goofy channel. It's called The Gherkin King. This show is showing up on the channel that's called The Gherkin King. Okay. So I like pickles. What can I say? You know, hey, can't fault a guy, right? So, but Things Network on YouTube, Pack Channel on YouTube, or Gherkin King on YouTube. You can also go to Pack Channel on Kick and on Twitch. They should be there as well. So, but we're going to be shutting this one down here in just a few minutes, and then we can be back. We'll be back up and running at about 8:05. And so we're going to pick up from there. We do have to switch every 3 hours. That's just the way that it is with the streaming, streaming software. We got to do what we got to do. This isn't TV. So, we do what we got to do. But please make sure that you join us on the other side of the hour. And, please do think about it for the next couple minutes. Think about what you would like to make sure that the Compass does. We'll see you at 8:05.
Hey friends, I've been thinking, we all have our strengths, right? There are things I'm great at and things I'm definitely not great at. I can talk to anyone, anywhere, but ask me to add something to a website or an app. Yeah, that's where things get a little messy. Oops, I love speaking. I love sharing stories. But social media, all those hashtags, algorithms, trends, that's a jungle I still haven't mapped out. Now, coming up with ideas that bring people together, that's my sweet spot. But bookkeeping, let's just say numbers, and I have agreed to stay in separate corners. And you know what? That's okay, because someone out there is good at those things. And when we work together, that's when the magic happens. Community Pay It Forward has never been about one person. It's a program built by many to support even more. Every single one of us brings something special to the table. We all have talents that make us strong on our own. But imagine how powerful we become when we combine them. That's the heart of Community Pay It Forward. Your skills, my skills, our hearts, working side by side to make a real difference. So tell me, what are you good at? Let's discover it together. Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement. Hi friends, I'm Barry. I'm here to show you how every purchase can support a cause you love. First, download the Community Pay It Forward app from the Google Play Store. You can also scan this QR code to the download. It's free and easy. Next, sign up for an account. This makes it so easy to keep track of what you have shopped for, who you have shopped with, and who you have supported. Once you're in, choose a mission partner you care about. These are our neighbors in need of a helping hand, or those who have dedicated their lives to helping others in times of need. Then shop with a giving partner listed in the app. Your purchase helps your chosen mission. It's that simple. Every transaction builds impact. You have now become a superhuman shopper because where you shop supports those you love. Want to learn more? Visit communitypayitforward.us and join the movement. Together we can create miracles because with you, your to-do list